This is the Raising Rebellion podcast, episode number 8.
Welcome to the Raising Rebellion Parenting Podcast, where we will explore how to help kids seek purpose and passion, challenge society's expectations, and avoid a standardized life. Now here's your host, Paul H.K.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for being here for episode number 8. Today, I talked to Stephen Briginshaw, who helps people in a fantastic way. He helps people build lifestyle, passion businesses. Stephen's discipline for hard work and his interest in becoming an entrepreneur came out of a major life event when his father passed away when he was 4 years old. He was then subsequently told by many well-meaning people around him that it was now his responsibility to take care of the family. A big pressure for a kid, to say the least. Growing up, he was a good student, and in fact, he learned that he could procrastinate and cram at the last minute and still do well on his tests. After high school, he decided that he wanted to be out in the world learning as opposed to more learning inside of a classroom at a university. He loved numbers, so he chose a path of becoming an accountant. That then began his career of eventually starting and selling his own business, which then led him to what he's doing now, which is helping others to create businesses and coaching them to have fun while doing it. Stephen also talks about his journey of becoming a first-time author and also shares his legacy goal of creating an entrepreneur university for kids, an idea that I absolutely love. I had a lot of fun chatting with him, and I think you're going to enjoy it. So here's my interview with Stephen. Okay, today we are speaking to Stephen Briginshaw. Stephen, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Paul, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Can you tell me about your background, what it was like growing up with your family life, how you came through school?
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So from a very early age, I had quite a life-changing event that happened. My father passed away whilst I was 4 years old. And it was a real big impact on me. And my mum remarried, and I had the support of a stepfather, and he was brilliant. And as far as I'm concerned, we're a family. We all think that way.
Great.
With my step family and my biological family. But that really set me up, I think, I was told, which is, I think it was meant in the nicest possible way, but you're the man of the house now. You've got to support your family, your mum and your sister, and it's up to you to do all these other things. I took a lot of pressure on myself at that young age. And that really where my work ethic come in, I think, in terms of work hard. And I learned a lot of that from my stepfather as well. And he worked hard all the time. He worked 6 days a week, and on the 7th day, he spent some time with us and sometimes in the garden. And it was very much the family were all about working hard in school. You got to learn. It's good. You need to learn to find what you want to do, and then to make something for yourself. My parents didn't want us. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. They didn't want us to be like them. They wanted something better, as most parents do. They want better for their children than they have for themselves.
Sure.
But you pick up those habits and beliefs and values from your parents that sometimes don't necessarily work. So, I was good at school. I studied hard when I was in primary school, so up to 11. And made good grades. I was a good boy. I did all the things I was told to do. And in secondary school, so from 11 to 16, I did the same until I got to about 13, and I had that rebellion, that teenage rebellion age.
Right.
And I started leaving work to the last minute, and I was really fortunate. And I say this from a humble position, that because I was able to pick things up quickly and I had a really good memory, I still do, I was able to retain information. So when it came to passing tests, I did the minimum I needed to. And that's what I found as a teenager. I was like, I can skate through this and do the minimum I need to. I don't need to work hard.
Right.
But what I did actually, Paul, was I worked hard in like the last day or the last hour, the 11th hour, instead of working hard over a period of time. So I still had the same pressure and the same work ethic, but I just changed it to suit my burning the candle at both ends, I suppose. So going out and having fun and doing the things that normal teenagers do.
Right. And
so going through school, I got decent enough grades. I did A-levels, which is in the UK from 16 to 18. Mm-hmm. And with that, I struggled a little because I didn't feel it was the right thing for me to be doing. I'd always loved business as a young child, always loved the idea of business and how it works. I was fascinated with it. And I wanted to learn more about it, but there was just no information out there, an alternative. Mm-hmm. And I love numbers as well. I was really good at maths. And the numbers came naturally to me, and I really still enjoy working with numbers now. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like a logical thing for me to put the two together. I love numbers, fascinated with business. Like, how can I find a job that, how can I find a career mm-hmm. that involves both of those? So after my A-levels, what I did is I started training as a chartered accountant. Mm-hmm. And I did the study for 6 years, and then I became a chartered accountant. So I was able to do the things that I loved, and bring a skill set and get a behind the scenes look at businesses as well, which is my real passion. Mm-hmm. But still the same work ethic at this point. Still the same: work hard, be good at what you do. It's picked up good values as well from parents about being polite and caring for people and caring for yourself and so on. But still very much along, I suppose, what you would call the go to school, get good grades, get a good job path.
Right. So if I could ask you, you mentioned that at one point you had sort of the realization that what you were doing in school just wasn't sitting right, and you were maybe getting a little antsy about it. Did you have that realization at that time, and you say, what could I be doing? And did it just kind of take a natural progression because you were good at math and because you were good at numbers that just sort of led you down a path towards becoming an accountant? And how did you sort of find the accountant role and world?
It's a really interesting question, actually. I think I found it by accident. Mm-hmm. I think it's just I got so fed up with the system mm-hmm. that you had to, work in class, do your homework, do case studies, do an exam. Mm-hmm. And I had that realization whilst I was studying for my exams at 16, my GCSEs, that it was a test of how well you could remember parts of the syllabus, not actually whether you have learnt it or not.
Right.
It was just an exercise, and I don't know if that's the same with any other exam boards, but for me, that's how I felt. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, well, that's not right. Mm-hmm. But lucky for me, I had a good memory, so I did okay. I did what I needed to do to get by. But it really demotivated me mm-hmm. with my exams, and certainly felt that through A-level studies as well. But mm-hmm. also that I felt this wasn't the right line of work for me. I wanted to be out there working and learning and doing something I loved, rather than being stuck in a classroom learning something that seemed irrelevant mm-hmm. at the time. Mm-hmm.
So you did not go to university then?
No, I didn't. No, okay. I had, at a very early age, I had no interest in going mm-hmm. to university because I felt, well, if I'm going to learn any more, it needs to be specific to a career that I want.
Right.
And I didn't see the sense of going to once. I was about 16 when I decided that I wanted to become an accountant. Mm-hmm. After having that realization, as we said, and it was actually a conversation I had with one of my friends who he said, "Oh, you should speak to my sister. She's an accountant, one of the top 5 firms at the time." Mm-hmm. And she said, "Yeah, I'm an auditor. This is what we do," and started talking to me more about it. I was like, "Yeah, do you know what? This sounds quite interesting. I think I could get used to this," because you get to see businesses without their clothes on. Mm-hmm. You get to see behind closed doors. So the bravado they put up, their brand and their marketing and so on, mm-hmm. is almost irrelevant because you get to see what's really going on. And I just found that fascinating. I was like, yeah, this sounds like a really good opportunity. So I focused on that really. Yeah, and I think I feel I was lucky. I felt that I fell into that just because of my falling out of love with the normal school system.
Right. It's great that you had that realization so early on. And I'm also very jealous because I'll walk from one room in my house to the next, and I'll forget why I walked to the next room. So my memory is not good like yours is. So I'm very, very jealous that you have a great memory.
Thank you. Well, it serves me well sometimes. Right. As I get older, though, I notice that it is starting to wane unless I practice. Okay. But the interesting thing, just to go back at quickly, I didn't explain why I didn't go to university, is because in the UK we have a very good it's like an apprenticeship route. It wasn't quite apprenticeship level, but it was a trainee route into accountancy. So it seemed the most logical thing for me. I could learn and earn and work in something that I thought I would enjoy and wanted to do, rather than going to university and studying accountancy and piling up with debt and having fun. I'm sure I would have had fun, but I know I wouldn't have studied as hard as I should have done. And I just saw the opportunity to learn within the working environment was too good to turn down.
That's fantastic. Something you said before also, it just triggered something in my memory about, you realize that taking a test or taking an exam was really just about memorization. And I heard recently, Seth Godin said something about, well, memorization should really just be taken out of school curriculum. I mean, with Google these days, you can look anything, literally anything up and find the answers to what you need. So the focus needs to be changed and redirected and into different areas. I mean, rote memorization, just is irrelevant these days because anybody can go find anything that they need to know.
Exactly. I completely agree with you. And actually in the finals of our chartered accountancy exams, you're allowed to take in textbooks with you. Not the textbooks that you learn from, but books that detail the framework and the understanding of accountancy. And, it is a little bit boring, the concept of it, but it helps you draw on real life skills. That's the whole point, is that they're preparing you for work in the real world. So if you don't know something, what are you going to do? Well, you're going to either ask a colleague or look it up. And exam conditions, you can't talk to anybody. But so the next thing is to look it up in a book, and that's what you do. And that's a skill we should be teaching people, children particularly. Like you say, they already know how to Google, but for them to get the right kind of context or content, that's a skill we could teach them. But then it's balancing that, because you could go in with all your textbooks and not get any work done because you're so busy looking things up. So it's finding the right balance again, and that's something that needs to be learned.
Right.
You can't just do it. I agree that exams are, I want to say, a waste of time. I think that's a little too harsh, but yeah, in my mind, that's what they are, because, as we said, it's a test of memory. There should be some structured testing throughout the course of the year in terms of the work, the results that come out, and that's a conversation for another day, I'm sure, Paul.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on to what you are doing today, which I think is fantastic. You are currently, and forgive me and correct me if I get anything wrong here, you're currently helping entrepreneurs and practitioners to build their dream, lifestyle, passion, business through different programs and different mentoring that you do. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, that's what I'm doing at the moment. So just to fill in the gap just very quickly, so I qualified as a chartered accountant. I became a senior manager at the firm where I studied. I loved the firm so much. It was my mission, actually, my goal when I first joined, to make partner by the time I was 30. I joined as an 18-year-old. And, I've always given myself challenges. I was like, I love it here. I want to make partner. Because that's the highest echelon I could get to at the firm. And I was fortunate enough to make that. I was 29 and I had the opportunity to buy in at the firm. So this was 6 years after qualifying. and being a senior manager and working my way up. And it turned out it broke my heart. It wasn't a viable option at all. So I set up my own shop in the end. So I set up, not literally a shop, just a saying, but I set up my own accountancy practice. And I grew from there, learned so much being an entrepreneur myself. And then I sold that business in 2015. And this is the interesting thing, and how passion can change, as I fell out of love with it completely. Really, really interesting. And from there, I decided to use my experience, my skill set with business and numbers. At that point, I've been working with businesses for like 15 years. This was last year when I sold the firm. And to put that into helping people that have been on a similar journey to myself, and that's where the lifestyle passion business comes in. So it's helping people discover what their passion is, and ideally they have an understanding already from places like Live Your Legend,
right?
So they're able to work out or find their passion, discover their passion, I think is probably the right term to use. They're able to discover their passion, and then I can help them build a business around that. Which is the really cool thing. And there's two programs we have at the moment. One program is helping people to grow their part-time passion business so they can quit their day job, because their day job pays all the bills and pays for cost of living and so on. So that's really exciting. That's really good fun. And then the other program I'm just starting is the transformational business program, where we're taking people who effectively own a job. So they own a business in a technical sense, but it's only them or it's a small team and them, but they're flat out, they're really busy, they don't have time for anything else, sort of capped at a ceiling with their income as well. They just don't know where to turn and don't know what to do next. So we're transforming those people into business owners so that the business can work with or without them. Right. And that's really exciting. So yeah, those are the things I'm working on at the moment. So programs that we've created that are self-learning and mentored as well. And I do mentor people in groups and one-to-one as well. So yeah, I'm really grateful for what I'm doing at the moment, and it really lights me up. It's good fun.
That's fantastic. Now, when people come to you, first of all, how old are they typically when they come to you and say, hey, I'm interested in starting a business around my passion?
Good question. Predominantly, I would say over 25.
Okay.
I would say most people who I've worked with and currently work with are actually slightly older, actually. They're probably around sort of 30 plus.
Okay.
So yeah, I should have, 25 to 35 is probably a good range of where people I'm working with at the moment. I'd love to work with younger people. That's something that I'm working towards in the future, actually, which we may discuss later on the call. But I'd say that around that age group.
Okay, so these are people are they typically people who have been through university, have then entered the job market and started down a path towards a certain career, and then at some point they just kind of realize that it's not for them and they are looking for something that they want to do?
I think that's exactly it, Paul.
Okay.
They followed the life of, work hard at school, get good grades, get a good job, work hard at your job. And they're at that point where they're thinking, this can't be the only way. This can't be. This job sucks the life out of me.
Right.
But yet, they've got to a point in life where they're reliant on the income, so that they feel they need to do something they need to carry on their job to pay for the bills and so on. But they're questioning, well, what else can I do? And predominantly they would have started something already. They would have started a business on the side. Okay. And that's where I can come in. That's the earliest I can come in, I think, really, in terms of helping. And typically, though, the biggest area where I can help are the job owners. Those are the people, again, same age group, because they've been in business for a while. They've got to a point where they're like, oh man, I'm banging my head up against a brick wall. I need some help. Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Entrepreneurism obviously is not for everybody. Yet it feels like happiness is so closely tied to it, if nothing more than the fact that, we spend so much time working. I think they say about 1/3 of our lives is actually spent working, and some probably go well beyond that. Yet becoming an entrepreneur, it really probably requires some different traits. And I'm guessing that a lot of people either don't have those traits, or they're just, maybe fear starts to set in, and they're not able to do different kinds of things only because we've sort of been taught one way the whole way through. And then all of a sudden, if it becomes time where we want to become an entrepreneur, there's so many other things that we just don't know about. Although I think that's changing a little bit now with all the information that's out there. But do you see people that come to you and they're just not able to move to that next level to become an entrepreneur, where you have to think a lot more freely and be more adaptable and flexible in decisions? Do you see that?
The interesting thing, Paul, I do see it, and it's a mindset thing. And as you're quite right, not everybody can move to that mindset. Obviously, you can change your mindset. You find new protocols if you like. You reprogram the brain and you work in a different way. But not everybody can do that, and not everybody's supposed to do that. Because if you think about, let's think of, you just say, for an example, there's an entrepreneur who is wired to be an entrepreneur, and he wants to start building a team. And if he builds a team of other entrepreneurs, at some point, if not at the beginning, then it's not going to quite work, because they all want to do their own thing.
Right.
They all want autonomy and to do their own thing. So you do need people who are able to support other people. So, employees that can support the entrepreneurs, so that the employees thrive in the environment of working with a leader who are doing the entrepreneurial thing. So you're right, it's not for everybody. There's a skill set involved. There's definitely a mindset shift that needs to happen. Going back to something you said earlier as well about, people spend up to 1/3 of their time doing work. It's like, well, I think this goes for saying, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, is if you're going to spend at least that amount of time working, then it may as well be on something fun, or that you at least enjoy.
Right.
Because, oh man, what a bummer. Otherwise, you get to the end of the road and you haven't enjoyed yourself. It just sucks. And I couldn't bear to think about that myself. That's selling my accountancy practice, because at the time I felt it was what I was supposed to be doing. But there were elements within the firm, coaching business owners and helping with the strategy and understand the numbers and so on, which I still do now. But the actual accountancy and tax stuff, I just fell out of love with, because it felt like a means to an end. Looking back, I can see the dots.
Right.
So if people have there's a lot of pressure, I think, these days as well, Paul, for people to become an entrepreneur.
I agree.
But because it's so easy to own a business, it's so cheap and easy to do it these days. I think because it's quite popular, people see that it's something that they need to do. But it's taking that long, hard look in the mirror and finding the information out and making that decision. Is this really what I want to do? Can I best help the people who I want to help by supporting an entrepreneurial leader, or by being an entrepreneurial leader? Now, that's the question I think we all need to ask ourselves. And for me, I'm just hardwired in that entrepreneurial way. As I mentioned, I've always been fascinated with business since an early age, and I have been the supporter and the employee within a firm, but I just have a different way of thinking, a different way of working, and eventually that's led me to being the entrepreneur.
Yeah. I think to me, it is, it's all about the why, and why you would want to become an entrepreneur and go do something. And you mentioned it several times there. If, for example, a lot of people start things because they see their business as being able to help other people in some way, and you're solving some sort of problem. that people might be having, whatever it may be, whether it's a product or a service or anything. And I think the people who connect so deeply with their why and their desire to go out and help other people kind of find that drive to go do it, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It comes back to the why. And again, I think you look at yourself and you say, how best can I serve my why? My purpose, if you want to call it that as well, or my passion. Right. How best can I do that? Am I geared to be an entrepreneur, or am I geared to support an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's the step that a lot of people miss, and unfortunately, they jump gung ho into being an entrepreneur when sometimes it's not the best place for them to be, mm-hmm. and then it knocks confidence, and they start questioning whether they should be doing it at all. Their mission, their why, whether they should be doing it at all. So it's just having that extra foresight, and just very quickly, just talking about there's 4 things that I really do believe that are important for an entrepreneurial journey. Is to make, well, there's 4 reasons I suppose why people don't succeed as they should. Mm-hmm. And I know some of these will resonate with you and your listeners. Is the first one is that entrepreneurship and business aren't taught in school, or not to the level where it should be. The real stuff, the real world stuff. There's the MBA type things that prepare you for corporate, but mm-hmm. they don't prepare you for the entrepreneurial step.
Right.
And throughout the whole school system, it's about becoming an employee rather than an employer, regardless of whether you're best as service mm-hmm. as an entrepreneur or not. Mm-hmm. The other thing is research and planning. I think that's where that working on your why and working out how best to support that why. As we said, as an entrepreneur yourself, or mm-hmm. supporting an entrepreneur, mm-hmm. and just making sure that you're taking the right steps. Then there's the support, accountability along the way, having somebody to turn to, having a mentor or a coach, someone to hold you accountable and move things forward. Mm-hmm. And then probably the biggest one, as we mentioned already, is the why. Where's that passion coming from? And I think those are the 4 ingredients to have a successful business. And you can have a successful business with, you don't have to have all 4, but to have all 4, then there's nowhere else. Success is just going to happen as a product. Right. It's going to be as a consequence of doing all of the right things. So it's pretty cool.
Right. Those are fantastic. I think that from a parent perspective, I think it's just very safe to send our kids through school, because it's proven, it's long-standing. Lots of people have gone through the system. They graduate, and if they can get into a what I call a branded university, ones that have a higher brand level than others, then in turn that can a lot of times result in a higher paying first job out of college. And so there's sort of the path that's been laid out, and there's the vision, and people have gone through it, and it's proven, and it's easier for parents to send kids through that route. And I'm not saying it's a bad route. It's a good route for a lot of people. But on the other side, I feel like parents just don't want to see our kids struggle or suffer. And to go down a path that's a little bit more unproven or unsure, questionable, you don't know how it's going to turn out. It could turn out great. It could turn out bad. You just don't know. I think it just makes parents very uncomfortable to send their kids down a path like that. For example, I had a conversation with a mom not too long ago whose daughter decided she wanted to become an actress. And it was very clear that made her very, very uncomfortable, because especially in Los Angeles, where I live here, everybody in town is trying to become an actress or an actor. Mm-hmm. And people come from all over the world trying to get discovered and become a big famous actor in Hollywood. So she was supporting her, And she just kept stressing to me that her daughter was a working actress. She was working. And it was almost like she was convincing herself that it's okay. It's okay. My daughter's working. She's making money at it, and she loves it. So I just think it makes parents uncomfortable taking a route that, that's a little bit more off the beaten path.
I agree. And it's the unknown, isn't it?
Right.
For a lot of parents, because if they're not an actor or a singer or a dancer, they don't know the environment. They don't know what's going to happen. Similarly, if they're not a business owner, they don't understand the mindset or the business world. So it's to play it safe, as you say, is to stick to what they know and what they've been taught. And it's interesting that until you yourself as a parent have that mindset shift and start questioning things and saying, well, hang on a minute, is this the right way? That you're then able to learn yourself and then impart that wisdom onto your children. And I think that's the only way to do it. For me, myself, I can't see me teaching my children anything else other than what I've experienced myself. I would find it very uncomfortable and difficult. Right. But at the same time, I want them to experience what's best for them. And I think we mentioned earlier, Paul, that at the end of the day, all parents, what they want for their children is the best for them. They want them to be happy and have fun and have a good life. Right. And how can you get them to do that? And I was watching a TV show recently, and it's called Billions with it Damien Lewis? Is that his name?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, but yeah, I've heard of it.
And he was speaking to one of the characters, and he was saying that at the end of the day, we just want our children to not have that financial pressure, so that they can choose to do something that they love. And that they enjoy. And it's like, well, of course, that's what we all want for ourselves. That's definitely what we want for our children. So when you think of it from that perspective, I think that forces you to say, well, hang on a minute. What do they love doing? What clubs do you take them to? What lessons do they do after school? What lights them up? Because those are the things that you would want them to continue to do, whether that is academia or whether that's dance or whether that's music or whether that's business or, whatever it would be. Those are the things we want to pursue for our children and allow them to have that. And that is a mindset shift for us as parents, is to encourage them to do that and learn with them. That's the scary thing. I think for me, I can certainly teach my children about being an employee and also being an entrepreneur, because I've experienced both. But if they wanted to be a musician or a dancer or an actor or an actress, I'm like, well, okay, let's learn about this together. And I think I would just take the same mindset as I mentioned earlier about the 4 mistakes I see people making in business, why they don't succeed. And use that into a field where I don't know anything about, so we can learn together and give them the best possible chance for success in something that they're going to love. And at the end of the day, I think, Paul, as well, it's really important that a lot of people can get fixated with a monetary value in terms of success. But I think the reward comes with having fun and being happy, which, one, you can't really put a price on until you can't measure it. So if I think if somebody, like you say, with the example you're speaking to the mum whose daughter was a working actress, regardless of whether she's working or not, if she's having fun, you're going to auditions and she's enjoying the experience, and okay, the knockbacks I'm sure are hard, but she's learning and getting better and having fun, that if she's scraping by but still enjoying herself, then I think that's more important than being the next Julia Roberts or Brad Pitt, and not enjoying themselves.
Yeah, I agree, and I really like what you said as well about taking that journey with them. If it's something that is different than what our mindset is based on our experiences growing up, go on that road and learn what it is that is lighting them up. And you may learn something along the way and share in that excitement that your kid has for it. I think that's really key. I mean, I know it's tough for a lot of parents, though. I mean, we're all very busy. We're all juggling so many different things and bills and jobs, and we're playing chauffeur to our kids, running them from this place to that place. So it is hard, but I do agree. I do think that that's a key. If we do have the time and are able to do that, I think it's really, really important and can help a lot.
I completely agree. And if anything, it's just going to bring the bond, the relationship you have even closer, even closer together. Yeah,
I totally agree. I want to ask you about your legacy goal, which I think is pretty incredible. And I'm really hoping that this in some way can help put that out in the world and make it happen, not just there, but here in the U.S. as well, because I think it's fantastic. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your vision for your Entrepreneur University?
I would love to. Thank you for asking, Paul. And this is something that scares the crap out of me. So the more I talk about it, the more familiar I get. The more I share it, the more is the listen. There's a chance of it happening as well, which is really cool.
Yep.
And I am taking steps already, which we can talk about shortly. But
awesome.
My dream, my vision, if you like, is to create an entrepreneur university, as you quite rightly said, which will allow school leavers from 16 upwards to have a real alternative to the standard system, standard schooling system, and they'll be able to learn something about business and entrepreneurship at a much earlier age. Mm-hmm. So they'll be able to jump in. They get mentored by world leaders. So we bring world leaders in different areas of business and different industries, mm-hmm. to be able to teach the kids, the things that they don't get taught in school. As often as you hear people say, there's a lot of things in the real life that we don't get taught in school, and it's similar for business. Mm-hmm. And also the idea is for it to create, I suppose, like an incubator environment where the kids are like, well, okay, this is an idea I have for a business because I'm passionate about it, and I feel this is something I would love to do. So that they're encouraged and empowered and supported to do that, so that they start building their business. And there will be bumps, there may be some failures and mistakes, mm-hmm. but then they'll be in that environment that allows them to learn from it and then make version 2.0.
Yeah.
And then 3.0 and so on and so on. So the idea is that by the end of graduation, what will happen is they would have learned enough about entrepreneurship and business. They would have developed a business in lots of ups and downs already, so that they're set up, whether that's to take a business that they make or they build in the university forward or not, or whether they start another business, but they've got that experience and the knowledge to take forward into the world and to do something that they're passionate about, that they love to do, and that really makes a difference in the world, that helps the people that are going to engage with the business, not just the customers, but the suppliers, the team that they're going to have working with them. Mm-hmm. That it is making a real difference in the world. And the idea is as well, which is really something really cool, and I haven't, a lot of this I haven't thought through properly in terms of how it would work. I have an idea, mm-hmm. but the idea is when they leave, when they graduate, there's no debt. Mm-hmm. Because often what happens with some of the university students is that they'll leave university with thousands and thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on how long they've been in university, of debt,
right?
Which they then have to spend the next 15, 20 years paying off.
Yep. And
that's another reason for them to stay in that current mindset of, I need to have a job because I've got the student debt to pay. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's what the Entrepreneur University is about. It's bringing bringing entrepreneurship as a real viable option for children and giving them everything that they possibly need to enable them to make that informed choice if it's right for them, and the encouragement, support, and knowledge, and then their own experience as they go through to make it work.
I mean, it sounds absolutely fantastic just to provide the exposure to somebody and see, just to have the option early on to see if it's something that they might be interested in. And even if they're not interested at that particular moment, you're giving them a lot of skills that they can perhaps draw upon if they make a decision later down the road, if they change their mind, because we know things change and passions change and different things in our life changes. So I think to provide that early on is absolutely a fantastic idea. I love the vision, love the concept.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those things that certainly for myself and for some of the people that I work with, it comes at a point where they are, they're sick and tired. So that's what forces the change in mindset. So if we can bring that mindset or that opportunity to look down a different path a lot sooner in people's lives, that they're, as we said, they're then able to make that decision whether that is a viable option for them or not. And it's at a point in time when they don't really have overheads, they don't have bills to pay.
Right.
So there's no real risk to a point for people, for these children to jump in with both feet and to give it a real go and find out if it is for them. And even if, like you say, if they graduate and they don't do anything with the business because something happens later on in their life, or that they take those skills and go and support an entrepreneur because they get the understanding and they're like, do you know what? I think I'm best going to serve a leader rather than be one myself. But then I know exactly how they think and how it works.
Yeah. So
they're jumping in as like the perfect employee, I suppose, the perfect team member.
Right. Well, that's fantastic. I'm hoping just by putting this out there in the world that somebody, if not you, somebody else in the United States can hear this and maybe take a similar path and maybe work on it in conjunction with you or something. Because
that'd be so cool.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I just think, like you said, they really need to do it early before all of the other life factors start to come into play in a more substantial way, of rent and payments and student loans and mortgage and all of those kids, all of those kinds of things. Try it while it's early.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. Completely. And yeah, it will be fun too. That's the whole point about it. We need to make it fun. And globally as well, that, as we were talking about before, Paul, there's no boundaries with technology these days. So
yep.
Let's make this global. Let's not keep it a little secret in the UK. Let's take it global.
I love it. Okay, now I do want to talk about, I know you're an author as well, and that you have recently written a book. Your book is called Profits Principles: The Practical Guide to Building an Extraordinary Business Around What You Love. I think we've already talked a lot about where this book came from, but can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to start writing this book and your journey along the way in writing it?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. The book came out as a product of speaking to somebody. I was on a course called the Key Person of Influence course with Daniel Priestley. Mm-hmm. And he runs this globally as well. So it's in the US and Singapore and Australia as well as the UK. Mm-hmm. And one of his steps in becoming a key person of influence in your industry is writing. So that's a blog, articles, reports, or a book. Mm. And so he encourages everybody on the program to write a book. And at the time, I didn't really have any goal around writing a book, to be honest. I didn't really like writing that much, mm-hmm. if I'm completely honest. Mm-hmm. So I stuck with the program, I did it, and I followed the process, and I all of a sudden realized, it's like, wow, I have all of this inside my head. I didn't even know it was there. It's like this collection of information that's, I've picked up from learning myself or from experiencing myself or working with business owners for 16 odd years. It's like, where did this come from? This is like pretty cool. And this would definitely help people. I was like, why have I been hiding this for so long? It was a really surreal thing to see it down in front of you. I was like, well, I just have to write this book now. Wow. There's just no two ways about it. I have to write it. Mm-hmm. And so I wrote the first draft. So from planning through to end of first draft, it took me just over a month. And I was like, wow, yeah, this is awesome. But then I was so exhausted from the whole experience that I put it down. Yeah. And then I didn't have the courage to pick it back up again for like 6 months. Mm-hmm. It's like, it scared me. And I was like, wow, what if what I'm saying is wrong? Or what if people disagree? Right. And, is this really the right things to be helping people? Can I really help people? Should, if I can, surely I'll be doing it already. And you start having all these, these self-doubts and things going on in your mind. So then I left it again for another 6 months. And the business, the process kept going on. It took me just over 2 years in the end to get the book finished. Mm-hmm. And I started, the first draft was 30,000 words. Wow. The final version of the book's just shy of 80,000. So I think I've written like 3 books in one because it took me so long to get the process nailed. Just over 2 years of work. But the really cool thing is now I'm at a place where it's like, well, I can't not put it out there. I have to help people. If this helps just one person, yeah, sure, some people will read it and they might not like it or they disagree, and everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But this is just, the book is essentially, it's not the way, it's just my way. Right. My thoughts, my opinions, and opinions change. Even my own. When the facts change, then your opinion changes because the information's moved on. So, and it's not necessarily like this is going to be set in stone forever, but I really do feel, what's come out of the process of writing the book was 7 principles, which I felt were essential to every business. So from everything that I've learned, working with startups, working with well-established businesses, working with businesses that have struggled and then turning them around, working with business owners who want to exit, I've had a massive exposure, which I'm really grateful for. And connecting the dots, I'm like, wow, do you know what? These same 7 principles apply to every single business. So this is like the companion, the book to support all business owners, all entrepreneurs, and then they can turn to different modules, if you like, different steps along their way. Mm-hmm. And as they change as entrepreneurs, as they change, as their business changes, as they change as human beings, there'll be something they can go back to in the book, and they'll be like, oh yeah, something new will come up to mind, or they might not be having a team problem, but now they are, so they can focus on how to deal with that issue and move past it. So I highly recommend it, because even though the process was so arduous, the end result was, as you said, wow, look at all this information. And I don't mean to be big-headed about that. I was just like, wow, I can't believe I actually wrote this. Reading some of it back is like, this sounds really good. I can't believe this was me saying this. It sounds like somebody else. And it's like, well, you have to share this. So I think it's one of the most powerful ways to share that, your talents and your skills with people, to actually help. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of fun too, although it was quite a bit of a monster. Right. It was quite fun too. And I do have a couple of other books in the pipeline. I think they're going to be more ebooks. They're not going to be 80,000 words. I think there might be something like 5,000 or something like that. Something's very slimmed down and very specific. But I found in the end that I actually do enjoy writing.
That's great.
Which is bizarre. But that was the experience.
That's fantastic. I mean, you went from never even having that goal to having it suggested to you to finishing your first draft in a month. I mean, that's pretty incredible. And I love how you got to the point of where you said, this has to be out there, even if it helps one person. I have to put it out there in case it helps that one person. And that's what kind of helped you get over the hump. I think that's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, and it certainly did. And it was having people around me to help me with that as well. I didn't do it all on my own. Right. I had people to turn to. So when I was when I was struggling from low self-confidence and wondering whether this is really a good idea. You put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Yeah, because it's so easy to think about yourself all of the time because
Absolutely.
we are ourselves 24 hours a day. But once you start thinking about the people that you want to serve and help, you put yourself in their position and you're like, wow, yeah, this has to be out. And having people around me to remind me about that really helped to get it finished.
Yep, I agree. I had a lot of the same we were talking about earlier. I have a lot of the same self-doubt about putting out this podcast, and a lot of people that I was talking to was very reassuring, very supportive. A lot of our mutual friends certainly helped me put this whole thing together and launch it. So I hear you. I don't know about being an author, though. I'll have to think about that one a little bit. But maybe that's down the road somewhere for me.
Well, maybe you can pull all of your podcasts together and get them transcribed and then job done.
That's true. That's very true. People have done that. I can maybe do that. Okay. Okay. I know, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know it's probably getting on the later side for you over in England. I do have one. I ask one last question of everybody that I interview, and I wanted to ask you the Raising Rebellion podcast, and it's about exactly what we've been talking about: not throwing your kids through the system of school, job, career, but rather helping them seek out meaningful things so that they can pursue the things that they love to do in life. What advice could you give to parents or kids on how to become a successful rebel in life?
This is a great question. And I think the thing that instantly comes to my mind, Paul, is reverting back to that 2-year-old, 3-year-old mindset. Mm-hmm. When you're continually asking questions. And my daughter's 3 at the moment, and it's like, what's that? Why is that? Why? It's continuing. It doesn't stop when you explain, and they continue to ask why after that, and you're digging deeper and deeper. And you're like, I don't have anything else more for you. That's all I know. But should we Google it together and find out some more? And this, it's quite that's quite fun as well, because you can explore together, as we were talking about before. But I think it's taking that childlike questioning and that childlike wonder. Mm-hmm. And not just taking life for what it is, and just ask those questions, and certainly applying it to things like, well, what do I enjoy most, and why? And why is that important to me? And just keep digging deeper. And so, what does that mean, and what does that lead to, and why is that, and how could I do that? I think for me, that's the thing that instantly comes into my mind, is just to question everything, and that leads somewhere to a place of happiness, fun, and fulfillment. And, kids get that, and they grow out of that. And whether they get that knocked out of them at school as well, potentially is, another thing that happens through the normal system. But
right.
How can we keep that within ourselves and encourage our children to continually to do that? Because I think once you have that sense of discovery and that wonder of how things work and what does it mean and why does that happen, that it leads on journeys that, even if it doesn't result in anything tangible, that you've had some fun along the way. Mm-hmm. So for me, I've mentioned earlier that particularly around business, it should be fun and you should do something that you enjoy. And I think that's why I'm quite a big advocate on that, on having that mindset of the questions, so that you have fun at the same time, but it also, you never know, it might lead to something fun and something more passion driven in the future.
Yep.
And it allows the children then to have such an open mind that the world really is their oyster, and the world is theirs effectively. They just have to grab it.
Right. Awesome answer. Awesome. This is fantastic. And I'll definitely be putting a link to your book as well in the show notes so people can find the book easily if they're looking for it. Where can people find you online if they want to find out more about what you do and if they perhaps wanted to contact you?
Yeah, thank you. So I appreciate the link to the book as well. Thank you very much. So they can connect with me on my website, so stephenbriginshaw.com. And I'm on social media, so I'm on Twitter, Facebook, have a YouTube channel. So you do a search for Stephen Briginshaw and I'll come up. So I think my handle on Twitter is Steve Briginshaw, because my name's quite long, so it doesn't quite fit in the character space.
Right.
But yeah, social media or come onto the website and say hi and connect, and I look forward to speaking with people and learning more about their journey and what they're doing at the moment.
Okay, fantastic. And I'll put all those links in the show notes as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Paul.
Sure. Steve Briginshaw is an award-winning entrepreneur, business mentor, and author who helps people all over the world build lifestyle, passion businesses. His new book is The Profit's Principles, The Practical Guide to Building an Extraordinary Business Around Doing What You Love. It's available on Amazon. Steve, I really love how you help people both financially and by enriching their lives by helping them find and build these businesses. I'm really very much looking forward to your next goal as well, about your working with kids and starting the Entrepreneur University. If there's anything that I can do to help you in any way whatsoever with regards to that or anything, please absolutely don't hesitate to contact me.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. I'm really grateful. And of course, I'm sure there's things we can do to help each other, Paul. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I look forward to it. All right. Well, Stephen, thank you very much for being here today. I truly appreciate you taking the time, and I will look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Paul. You have a great day.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Once again, thank you to Stephen for the inspiration and taking the time to come on the show today. Our website is raisingrebellion.com, where you can find all of our podcast episodes, show notes, and sign up for our mailing list. Join the community at facebook.com/raisingrebs and at raisingrebs on Twitter. If you're enjoying our podcast, I'd really appreciate your help by subscribing, rating, and or leaving a review. It helps the show a lot if you do. Do you know any other Rebel parents? If you do, please feel free to spread the word. And finally, I really appreciate you listening, and I'm truly grateful for you being here. Thank you very much. And until next time, go Rebs.
The revolution will not be standardized.